Good to go.
Alright, Shalom. I'm going to begin by giving all glory and praises to
Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kahakadash.
double honor to our beloved elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom to the hopefully elect. And shalom to all the Akim pushing this truth with sincerity. It's the brothers from the GMS Columbus, Ohio branch coming back again with another Friday class. We are going to do a continuation on Daniel, the 11th chapter. Alright. And Lord's will, try to get through it. But pretty much, of course we understand that ultimately when you're dealing with this chapter, is predominantly dealing with, the two dynasties, the Seleucid dynasty and the Ptolemaic dynasty. Okay, and in that you had 6 Syrian wars, alright, that sprang forth, over Coel, Syria. Okay, in the midst of that you had various history, different men, who rose from these different dynasties and, their inner turmoil, etc. Alright, so now we're, I believe we're in verse 20. Ultimately, going into this verse, you're dealing with Seleucus, the fourth Philopator. Okay? The son of, Antiochus the third, the great. Alright, the first son of Antiochus the third, the great, and the brother of Antiochus, or Antiochus, however you may pronounce it, the fourth. Alright, so Lord's will, can someone just get Daniel 11, we read verse 20?
Yes, sir. This is
Go into it.
This is the book of Daniel, chapter 11, verse 20. Then shall stand up in his estate.
Then can we cue up some wiki on Seleucus,
Yes, sir.
before Philopator?
I'll read it, Daniel.
Okay.
So Daniel 11 and verse 20, it says, "Then shall stand up in his estate and a raiser of taxes in the glory of the kingdom. But within few days he shall be destroyed, neither in anger nor in battle."
Right, and that raising of taxes, alright, like I said, is dealing with Seleucus before Philopator. Alright, and then can someone get a 2 Maccabees 3?
Yep.
And we tie into that because one thing we gotta understand when we read Maccabees, it's not necessarily written in chronological order. Alright, so pretty much it's, some of the same accounts, alright, written in both books, and like how in the 2nd Maccabees you got, the expounding on certain accounts, in the Maccabees. Alright? But okay, cool.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, 2 Maccabees 3, real quick.
At the top,
Yeah.
2 Maccabees 3 at the top, it says, "Now when the holy city was inhabited with all peace, and the laws were kept very well, because of the godliness of Onias the high priest, and his hatred of wickedness, it came to pass that even the kings themselves did honor the place and magnify the temple with their best gifts." And
Right,
so,
and remember this character, Onias. You got it.
and so much that, so that's Seleucus,
No,
Seleucus,
Seleucus.
Solutions.
The third, where you at?
verse 30. I said that's Seleucus, right?
Come.
2 Maccabees 3 verse 3, "And so much that Seleucus of Asia of his own revenues bear all the costs belonging to the service of the sacrifices.
Mm-hmm.
But one Simon of the tribe of Benjamin, who was made governor of the temple, fell out with the high priest about disorder in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And when he could not overcome Onias, he got him to Apollonius."
Right, so you have this character, Simon, alright, a Benjamite, who pretty much was trying, had the spirit of preeminence, trying to ultimately, be in the stead of the high priest. You got it.
He got him to Apollonius.
He conspired against him. You got it.
Apollonius, the son of Thraces, who then was governor of Cilicia and Phineas, and told him that the treasury in Jerusalem was full of infinite sums of money.
Right, so remember, alright, Seleucus is funding certain things for the temple. And like I said, you got Simon, who was conspiring against the high priest at this time. he had a falling out with him. So he's going to Apollonius, the son of Thracius, who then was governor of Coel Syria or Silo Syria and Phoenice. So he's going to this man and telling him these things about the temple. You got it.
Sure.
And this is how we get to the verse in Daniel the 11th chapter concerning the man who raised the taxes. You got it. This is the account.
Verse 6 again, it said, and told him that the treasury in Jerusalem was full of infinite sums of money, so that the multitude of their riches, which did not pertain to the account of the sacrifices, was innumerable, and that it was possible to bring all into the king's hand.
One more time on that, verse 6.
Yep. Verse 6, and told him that the treasury in Jerusalem was full of infinite sums of money.
Right, so he's telling this man about what's happening in the temple. You know? Go ahead.
So that the multitude of their riches, which did not pertain to the account of the sacrifices,
Right, which did not pertain to the account of the sacrifices, because like I said, Seleucus was funding, the sacrifices in the temple. All right, so pretty much Simon is telling him like, man, we got way more than what y'all think we got. You know what I'm saying? The stuff we got way more than just what you give us for the sacrifices.
right?
So pretty much now he's like, this what you, so you holding off on shit, like, you know what I'm saying? You receiving gifts from us or from me, all right, but you got, way more put up than we think.
Right.
You got it.
It says, which did not pertain to the account of the sacrifices, was innumerable, and that it was possible to bring all into the king's hand.
Right, so now he's like, now it's possible to bring all this to the king's hand. Go ahead.
Verse 7, now when Apollonius came to the king and had showed him of the money whereof he was told, the king chose out Heliodorus, his treasurer, and sent him with a commandment to bring him the foresaid money.
Right, so this is, how he raised the taxes. How y'all owe down, you know what I'm saying? So he sent his man, Heliodorus, his treasurer, to go and bring that sum of money. You got it.
So forthwith Heliodorus took his journey under a color of visiting the cities of Cilicia and Phoenice, but indeed to fulfill the king's purpose. And when he was come to Jerusalem and had been courteously received of the high priest of the city, he told him what intelligence was given of the money, and declared wherefore he came, and asked if these things were so indeed. Then the high priest told him that there was such money laid up for the relief of widows and fatherless children.
Right, so the high priest Onias, he's like, this money we ain't just fucking off with the money we got saved up. This for the widows, the fatherless children. You know what I'm saying? This ain't just, bullshit money. You got it. So he trying to plead with him, because he sent Heliodorus to go and take that money to to tax him. So he like, you know what I'm saying? He's like, nah, this ain't what's happening. Like, we need this for this, and that. You got it.
Verse 11, and that some of it belonged to Hyrcanus, son of Tobias, a man of great dignity, and not as that wicked Simon had misinformed.
See, like I said, this man Simon, he's wicked. He conspired a whole plan to try to, get Jake hemmed up. But like he said, he misinformed him. You got it.
The sum whereof in all was 400 talents of silver and 200 of gold. And it was altogether impossible that such wrong should be done unto them that had committed it to the holiness of the place and to the majesty of inviolable sanctity of the temple, honor over all the world.
Yeah.
But Heliodorus, because of the king's commandment given him, said that in any wise it must be brought into the king's treasury. So at the day which he appointed, he entered into and to order this matter, wherefore there was no small agony throughout the whole city. But the priests, prostrating themselves before the altar in their priest vestments, called into heaven upon him that made a law concerning things given to be kept, that they should safely be preserved for such as had committed them to be kept. Then whoso had looked the high priest in the face, and would have wounded his heart, for his countenance and the changing of his color declared the inward agony of his mind.
Alright, so he was like, damn, you know what I'm saying? He was vexed over it. But you got it, keep going.
Verse 17, for the man was so compassed with fear and horror of the body that it was manifest to them that looked upon him what sorrow he had now in his heart. Others went flocking out of their houses to the general supplication, because the place was like to come into contempt.
Alright, now, just for time's sake, you can jump down to verse 20. Where you at?
I just finished verse 18.
Jump to 23.
So 2 Maccabees 3 verse 23. Nevertheless, Heliodorus executed that which was decreed.
Right, so he like, bump all this shit. I'm coming to get this money. Alright, that, you know what I'm saying, Seleucus, you know, ultimately sent him to get. You got it.
Now, as he was there, present himself with his guard about the treasury, the Lord of spirits and the Prince of all power caused a great apparition, so that all that presumed to come in with him were astonished at the power of God, fainted, and were sore afraid.
Alright, so here come the angels. Alright? You got it. And they about to beat the fuck out this dude. You got it.
For there appeared unto them a horse with a terrible rider upon him, and adorned with a very fair covering, and he ran fiercely, and smote Heliodorus with his forefeet. And it seemed that he had sat upon the horse, had complete harness of gold. Moreover, 2 other young men appeared before him, notable in
That's
strength.
how you know the what the angels look like. They look like men. I mean, you got, you know, different angels who may take different forms or can shape whatever. But like you said, they were young men. They were youthful men. All right, with a glorified body. You got it, bro.
It says, notable in strength, excellent in beauty, and comely in apparel, who stood by him on either side and scourged him continually, and gave him many sore stripes.
So they jumped this nigga, you know? Beat the shit out of him. It's gonna say that too.
Verse 27.
They knocked him. Go ahead, bro.
Knock the socks off.
Verse 27. Heliodorus fell suddenly into the ground, and was compassed with great darkness.
Right, see, he put him asleep. Put his ass to sleep. Just imagine the angel put your ass to sleep. Of course, they could have just. It only took one dude to just, you know, send him to the spiritual realm. But you know, of course, we know the spirit. You know, they had to dial down and just beat him up. You know what I'm saying? For the purpose of the will of the Lord to, you know, go forth. Because, you know, ultimately, when you go into the count further, you know, he's like, man, fuck this shit. All right, y'all got it. But read one more verse.
Finishing out 27, it says, but they that were with him took him up and put him into a litter. Thus him that lately came with a great train and with all his guard into the said treasury, they carried out, being unable to help himself with his weapons, and manifestly they acknowledged the power of the Most High.
Alright, so they acknowledge the power of the Most High. Right? Fuck this shit. Read one more.
Right.
29.
Verse 29, it says, For he by the hand of the Most High was cast down, and lay speechless without all hope of life.
Right, they down there beat him to death. You know, he looked like, you know what I'm saying, some shit up like Ed, and Eddie.
Yep.
Nigga get beat
Yeah,
up.
that's the
Big
joint.
Yep.
The joint go up, the horn there.
ass purple eye. Got like 3 teeth. You know what I'm saying? Got the stars going around his head and shit.
Yep.
They whooped his ass, you know? But he had to be an example, alright? But anyways, can we get some little background on solutions? But
Yes,
pretty
sir.
much, again, dealing with Daniel 11 and 20. It says, then shall stand up in his estate a raiser of taxes in the glory of the kingdom, but within a few days he shall be destroyed, right? Because he had a short reign, alright? It says neither in anger nor in battle, right? Because ultimately Seleucus, before Philopator didn't die in battle or any gruesome way, you know, he ultimately got assassinated. I believe poisoned. You know, in the history they say Heliodorus, you know, poisoned him. Alright, that's how he met his demise. Alright, which ultimately, that then sets up Antiochus IV. Alright, but anyways, can we read just a little background on him, and then we can go to his death.
All right.
Wikipedia as well.
All right. So we got Seleucus the Fourth, Philopator.
Mm-hmm.
All right. From 218 BC to 175 BC, ruler of the Hellenistic Seleucid Empire, reigned from 187 to 175 BC over a realm consisting of Syria, now including Cilicia and Judea, Mesopotamia, Babylonia, and near Iran.
See, he ruled over Judea, you know. So remember, in the midst of these wars between the two, the king of the south and the king of the north, whoever, you know, pretty much took over that region had, you know, authority over the nation as well. You got it, bro.
All right, so you want to go straight to the death? Just get a little.
Yeah.
All right, got you.
Go to reign, then death.
Yep, got you. Of course. The reign of Seleucus the Fourth, Philopator. It says in 187 BC, Antiochus died after looting the temple of Bel and Alibus, and Seleucus took over as Basileus. He renewed an alliance with the Achaean League and almost joined in the Pharnaces' invasion of Galatia. Before reconsidering and turning back, he also substituted his son Demetrius instead of his brother Antiochus IV as a hostage in Rome.
Mm-hmm.
Now going to his death.
Yep.
On September 3rd, 175 BC, 137, it says Seleucus was assassinated by Heliodorus. Yeah. One of his leading bureaucrats.
Right, see, this is all secular history tied to the scripts.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
It said the ancient sources do not record a motive for this act. Possibly it was simple lust for power, just like today. Or possibly the sources misattributed the death to the one who gained the most from it, Heliodorus.
Right, because he knew, you know, the situation concerning the Treaty of Ampia, or I forget how to pronounce it. You know, so he had a lot of insight about, you know, the next ruler, the next king, you know, etc.
Yeah, just like now.
Right.
Just like how you can accredit it to now, today.
Right, because like he said, it's like he had a son, Demetrius, all right? And you know, at this point, his son was very young, all right? Well, you want to make a point?
No, I was just accrediting it to, it's all over again. Greek, Roman Empire, this is Rome 2.0, because that was, like you see Donald Trump, which they accredited through the spirit. They think they're Nero in the reincarnation, but it's the same thing. It's the same playbook. The lust for power, DJ Trump, you know. Back at it, back at the death of this nigga, it says Heliodorus took over as regent, ruling on behalf of Seleucus IV's young child Antiochus. Heliodorus' reign as regent was brief. However, months later, he was replaced by Antiochus IV with support from Pergamon.
That it? Yep. See, so
Heliodorus,
he knew these things, and he like, all right, bet. But it ultimately didn't go well because he ended up still, you know, getting taken out of that place and being replaced with Antiochus. All right. So now, Lord's will, can we get Daniel 11 and verse 21?
This book of Daniel, chapter 11 and verse 21. And his estate shall stand up a vile person, to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom, but he shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flattery.
Right, so boom, now we understand we're dealing with the lands in the Antioch, you know, the vile one. All right, which this man was written about. Real quick, we get Daniel 8. Said Daniel 8 and Daniel 8 and verse 9.
So Daniel 8 verse 9. And out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great.
Well, so like we started at 8.
Daniel 8 verse 8. Therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and four it came up, four notable ones toward the four winds of heaven.
Right. We already know who these notable ones are, or should. You know, the four generals that still come out of you know, Alexander the Great, you know, his four generals. Alright? And like we said, verse 9 is like this.
Verse 9, and out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great, toward the south, and toward the east, and toward the pleasant land.
Right, that's speaking of Antiochus. Like you said, he which waxed exceeding great toward the south. Alright? So we understand at this point who the king of the south is, the Ptolemaic dynasty. So he had his eyes set on Egypt. Like you said, and toward the east, you know, Asia, you know, those provinces over there. It says, and toward the pleasant land, which is Israel. Alright? But that's it. We can jump back to Daniel.
Verse 22.
Nah, we gotta get some information. Read 21 one more time.
Daniel 11, verse 21. And in his estate shall stand up a vile person, to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom, but he shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flatteries.
Did you say shall, one more time, bro?
Daniel 11:21, and in his estate shall stand up a vile person, to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom.
Right, he said he shall not give the honor of the kingdom, because ultimately Antiochus wasn't the true heir of the Seleucid dynasty. Alright, it was his big brother Seleucus. Okay, and at this point, you know, Antiochus Epiphanes IV, you know, he was a hostage at Rome. Alright, but he was eventually let loose due to the death of his father. Okay, but can we get some Wikipedia on Antiochus?
I got
You want to jump on the commander seat, brother? Or you got your wow.
Which one?
Four.
This is Antiochus IV, Epiphanes. It says Antiochus IV, Epiphanes, 215 BC, 164 BC, was the king of the Seleucid Empire from 175 BC until his death in 164 BC. Notable events during Antiochus' reign include his near conquest of the Ptolemaic Egypt, his persecution of the Jews of Judea and Samaria, and the rebellion of the Jewish Maccabees.
Keep going.
The son of King Antiochus III the Great, Antiochus IV's accession to the throne was controversial.
Right, see, it was controversial. Alright, go ahead.
As he was seen as a usurper by some. After
That's, like I said again, that's why I said in 21, it says, and in his estate shall stand up a vile person to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom. Because like I said, it was controversial, you know, his controversial rise, you know, to be a king at that time. You know, like I said, he was seen as a usurper and would be known, I believe, as the first usurper in Seleucid dynasty. You got it. After the death.
Yep. It says, after the death of his brother Seleucus IV Philopator in 175 BC, the true heir should have been Seleucus' son, Demetrius I.
See, you got it.
However, Demetrius I was very young and a hostage in Rome at the time.
Right, because remember, you know, the treaty that they made with Rome, the treaty of Appomattox, all right? And pretty much, you know, out of those hostages, I believe it was 20 hostages, one of them had to be the son. So Seleucus, the fourth Philopator, put up his first son, his heir, you know, to be a hostage in Rome.
Right.
You got it.
it says, and Antiochus seized the opportunity to declare himself king instead, successfully rallying enough of the Greek ruling class in Antioch to support his claim. This helped set a destabilizing trend in the Seleucid Empire and the subsequent generations, as an increasing number of claimants tried to usurp the throne after his own death. Power struggles between competing lines of the ruling dynasty heavily contributed to the collapse of the empire. Antiochus' often eccentric behavior and capricious actions led some of his contemporaries to call him Epimanes,
Right.
the mad.
Right. And like you said, the latter portion of the verse, and obtained the kingdom by flatteries, right? So pretty much when you deal with Antiochus, he was very cunning, alright? And he pretty much, used flattery, promises, making different allegiance, or aligning himself with certain people so he can rise up into power. Alright, and to sit on the seat as king, alright, over the Seleucid dynasty at this point.
Real quick, you mind if I get the definition for usurper? Just real quick, because I wasn't completely aware of it. Usurper, just a quick Google search, just says a person who takes a position of power or importance illegally or by force.
Yeah. But can you jump to rise to power? Let's read some of that.
Which,
Rise to power under biography.
rise to power, it says born around 215 BC, Antiochus was a son of the Seleucid king Antiochus III the Great. Antiochus appears to have originally named Mithridates, although this name would be changed either after the death of his elder brother Antiochus or when he eventually ascended the throne. As a potential successor to the throne, he became a political hostage of the Roman Republic under the terms of the Treaty of Apamea, concluded in 188 BC after his older brother Seleucus IV Philopator succeeded their father onto the throne in 187 BC. Antiochus was exchanged for his nephew Demetrius, the son and heir of Seleucus. After this, Antiochus lived in Athens and was there when his brother was assassinated in 175 BC by the government minister Heliodorus. Heliodorus proclaimed himself regent afterward, essentially giving himself control of the government. This arrangement did not last long. With the help of the king Eumenes II of Pergamum, Antiochus IV traveled from Athens through Asia Minor and reached Syria by November 175 BC. Seleucus' legitimate heir Demetrius was still a hostage in Rome, so Antiochus seized the throne for himself, proclaiming himself co-regent with another son of Seleucus, an infant named Antiochus. Antiochus, son of Seleucus.
He used flattery. You know what I'm
Mind
saying?
if I say a point?
What's up?
Yeah, even a lot of these military conquests, a lot of military bases, they have Apennines as like a street, so it's kind of synonymous with Esau's reign. Like that's just kind of when you say it's like you say Appa, what is it?
Apamea.
But okay, so like, but it's still like
It says Antiochus, son of Seleucus IV, would later die in 170 BC, possibly murdered by Antiochus IV.
Right, so like I said, use those flatteries, he made different, allegiance, talk to the right people, boom, 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 so he could get up in that power seat. Alright, real quick, alright, you can stop there. Let's get Daniel 11:22.
Let's look at Daniel chapter 11 and verse 22. It says, "And with the arms of a flood shall they be overflown from before him, and shall be broken. Yea, also the prince of the covenant."
One more time.
Daniel 11:22. "And with the arms of a flood shall they be overflown from before him, and shall be broken. Yea, also the prince of the covenant."
Right, so at this point, he got up in the power. He started with a very small army, a very small, bundle, with people under him, until he grew. Okay? He took over Heliodorus, alright? And ultimately, like I said, became king of, the Seleucid dynasty at that point. Okay? But like he said, and with the arms of a flood they shall be overthrown from before him and shall be broken. Yeah, also the prince of the covenant, right? And ultimately, he deal with the prince of the covenant. He's dealing with the nation of Israel. But in particular, all right, when you go into 2nd Maccabees, the 4th chapter, dealing with Onias and his brother Jason, okay? So can we get 2nd Maccabees 4 and 7? Because when you go into the word prince of the covenant, you ultimately dealing with the high priest. Alright? Like you said, prince, ruler, captain, prince, princely, governor, leader, okay? Of the covenant, we know who took the covenant, alright, the nation of Israel, okay? And who, helps, oversee that covenant, the lawgivers, with the Levites, okay? So let's get 2nd Maccabees 2, or else like it 4, and start at verse 7.
Yes, sir.
Because this is the particular account, of how he broke, the prince of the covenant. What you got me?
This is the book of 2nd Maccabees, chapter 4 verse. I got it. 4 verse 7. But after the death of Seleucus, when Antiochus called Epiphanes, took the kingdom, Jason, the brother of Onias, labored underhand to be his priest, promising unto the king by intercession 360 talents of silver, and of another renew 8 talents.
Hold on.
Oh, 80 talents.
That's why I be saying, like, man, it be like sometimes, see how one piece of the scripture be like this, is this whole chapter, literally.
Yeah.
But start at. You keep going. You got it.
All right. Verse 8. It says, promising unto
Start
the.
at 7 again. Like
Back at verse 7 out of 2nd Maccabees. 2nd Maccabees, 4th chapter. But after the death of Seleucus, when Antiochus called Epiphanes, took the kingdom, Jason and the brother of Onias labored underhand to be his priest.
Right, so Seleucus died, via the hands of Heliodorus. Okay, Onias is still high priest, alright? And his brother Jason is working underhand, under his brother. Okay? You got it.
Verse 8, promising unto the king by intercession 360 talents of silver, and of another renew 80 talents.
Yeah. If you can look that up, I think that's like some millions. If I'm not mistaken.
360 talents.
I looked it up, I forgot the exact number, I should have wrote it down. But just a fun fact, if brothers want to look that up, how much that'd be worth today, it's a fat ass amount though. I think like I said, like some M's, if I'm not mistaken. But you could keep going out.
Verse.
I know the 80 talents would be 135 million.
God damn.
Modern US dollars. What was it say?
It said 303 talents of silver.
What, 360? Is that?
Yeah, 360.
quick. Alright, so what? So 360 plus 135. Let me get that.
Is that silver?
Yeah, so and then another, so it's like two payments, so to speak.
Yeah.
I got some that say 6 million.
Yeah.
That's off the silver though.
Oh, okay.
And then what do you say, 80?
80 talents.
Well, yeah, that'd be another. So that's what 400, 440 talents of silver.
360 plus 80. Yep. 440. 440. Zero.
About 20. It says the value of 440 talents of silver is approximately 25.7 million to 42.8 million USD today.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So that was some fat shit.
Yeah.
That wasn't no little nigga money.
Big boy pockets.
Yeah. So he was, you know, and already, you know, Salaki, but you know, going into this account, you know, you had Jason, his wicked ass. All right. You know, he was another man seeking preeminence. All right, etc. And you know, he tried to, you know, get into that high priest position. All right. And you know, this is what he offered to Antiochus the fourth Antiphonus, which ultimately this is. Can Jake read verse 23 as well in Daniel 11 real quick?
Yep. Daniel 11:23.
Yeah, read 23 too.
Daniel 11:23. Verse 23 it says, "And after the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully. For he shall come up and shall become strong with a small people."
Right, like it says, and after the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully. Right, so ultimately he made this league with Jason. All right, but he worked deceitfully in the end. So we can jump back to that Mac.
2 Maccabees 4 and verse 9. Besides this, he promised to assign 150 more if he might. That's his money right there. So like 2 Maccabees 4:9. Besides this, he promised to assign 150 more if he might have license to set him up a place for exercise and for the training up of youth in the fastness of the heathen, and to write them of Jerusalem by the name of Antiochians.
Right, so this was his motive. Alright, he was trying to get in good with the king, promise him all this money. And of course, like I said in 23 and Daniel 11, you know, the king being Antiochus the fourth, you know, he made leagues with these men, but he worked deceitfully in the end as well. Alright? But you can keep going.
Verse 10, which when the king had granted.
Real quick, Salaki, I just want to go into that, the place of exercise. Because, you know, Jake was doing that shit. Because, real quick, like the apostle already brought up the word gymnasium goes into naked. You know, I'm on Wikipedia. It says naked, nude. I'm going to skip down a little bit. It says athletes competed nude or practice which was said to encourage the male body and to be a tribute to the gods. You know, just wanted to get a little quick little thing. You know, Jake was being wicked, man.
Yeah, because I'm sorry, it's more. And they cut their face, their beards off, and they got bald headed, and they fucking laced themselves with like oil and like a tanner or some shit.
Yeah.
Well, today's, you know, but that's, you know, that's going back to the Hellenistic period.
You might get First Maccabees 1 and 10, because like I said, when you read Maccabees, like we read about this in First Maccabees 1. This is what that's talking about. See, like I said, when you go to Maccabees, you got certain situations that briefly were touched upon and then expounded in the Second Maccabees.
So what?
1:10.
First Maccabees 1:10. And then it's like, and there came out them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been in houses at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, "Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us."
This is who that's talking about. Jason. Different men who, was in league with him. You got it.
For since we departed from them, we had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. The certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen. Whereupon they built a place for exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen.
See, all under the hands of ultimately Jason. All right. So that wicked work, allowed Antiochus the fourth Epiphanes to work deceitfully, okay, and to Hellenize the people. This man vile. But where we at? Can we keep going in that second Maccabees 4?
So second Maccabees 4 and verse 10 was when the king had granted and he had gotten into his hand the rule he forthwith brought his own nation to wreak his fashion, and the royal privileges granted a special favor to the Jews by the means of John, the father of Eupolemus, who went ambassador to Rome for enmity and aid. He took away and putting down the governments which were according to the law, he brought up new customs against the law.
Mm-hmm.
For he built gladly a place of exercise under the tower itself, and brought the chief young men under his subjection, and made them wear a hat.
Mm-hmm.
Now such was the height of Greek fashions and increase of heathenish manners through the exceeding profaneness of Jason, that ungodly wretch, and no high priest.
Right. See, so our own people held forward the Hellenistic fashion just like today. Fraternities, even how they act, that lewdness, that rowdiness, that's a Greek spirit. That all goes back to the Greeks, right? The Dionysus, the god of Dionysus, Bacchus, that young, wild, and free spirit. That's all Greek. That ecstasy spirit. That's why niggas act the way they act with spring break, twerking on the headlights, bitches hanging out the rooftop and shit. That all that wild, extravagant shit, goes back to the Greeks, man. And niggas fell right into all that shit. But
I got a little information real quick. This is a good site for brothers who want to, study the scriptures. Real quick, it's called United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. Of course, we're not Catholics. I like this Bible though because at the bottom it explains certain verses. Let me see. I'm gonna read a little bit of this. So like going back to the gymnasium, and I also want to get into that hat too. It says verse 12 of 2 Maccabees 4 and 12. It says, since the gymnasium where the youth exercised naked, which we already brought that out. It says laid in the valley to the east of the citadel. It was directly next to the temple on its eastern side. And it says the Greek hat, a wide brim hat, traditional head guard of Hermes.
it's like a bucket hat.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I believe Hermes is a god, a false god. Real quick.
Like Hermes belts and all that shit.
Stand. That's
Oh,
why.
shit.
All that designer shit go back to different gods and deities.
Mm-hmm.
Balenciaga,
Yep.
Baal.
Yep. The god of war, Hermes. Let me see. Hold up. Salaki. Must be wearing that shit. Got the hat on too. Let me see. There might be some more.
Right, so now through the spirit we see all the events that's leading up to what we got going on in the New Testament.
Mm-hmm.
These are all events. This is the history concerning that third beast in Daniel 7th chapter. Alright, concerning the Greeks. Alright, that leopard. This is all the history concerning that. Daniel 11, it's right in Daniel 11. If we go into it. Alright, then the Maccabees helps piece it together. All right, just the insight on it. But the Greek captivity, all right, was, like I said, another captivity that the nation of Israel went into. And the result of that, you have, the Hellenizing of the Jews. And like I said, that ultimately results in the situations that tie to the Jews and the Greeks in the New Testament. Now we're seeing, okay, and this is, generations before, Rome. All right, so just think, this happened in, 175 BC. All right, then what? When did Yahweh Shai come into play? 1 AD. See, so this is 175 years of a time where, Jacob being Hellenized or had begun being Hellenized. So think of how many generations came out of, 175 years. Because at this point in time, it's counting down. You see? So 175 years of Jake being Hellenized, going through different wars and turmoil between different nations and losing their heritage. All right, little by little, those who are in that land, etc. Because you had Jews in all these different lands as well. But Jake, got anything else on that info?
No, that's it.
So now, Lord willing, we at Daniel. Can Jake read Daniel 11:23 one time?
Daniel 11:23, and after the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully, for he shall come up and shall become strong with a small people.
Right, like I said, hey, Antiochus, that nigga started from the bottom. He wasn't the true heir. All right, he was scoffed and mocked, or not honored as the true king. He started little, and then he ended up being the king over, the Seleucid dynasty at that point. Like you said, he became strong with a small people. All right, and he said he had a handful of followers. But you got it, verse 24.
Daniel 11:24, he shall.
JC, who we have on the time?
So we have 47.
Uh,
Daniel 11, verse 24, he shall enter peaceably even upon the fattest places of the province, and he shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey and spoil and riches. Yeah, and
real quick, so like I forgot to make mention. Because another thing concerning those leagues, all right, he was making leagues at this time too with Ptolemy VI. All right, I forgot we had to mention him too, because at this point, now Ptolemy VI is being put into place as well. But you can continue. Start at the top.
Yep. Daniel 11:24, he shall enter peaceably even upon the fattest places of the province, and he shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey.
Right, and a part of the things that he did that his fathers didn't do was pretty much honor us. All right, because the men before him allowed us to continue in our religious practice. All right, you did see we just dealt with his father Seleucus the third, or Seleucus, not his father, but his brother Seleucus the fourth Philopator, and how he funded the sacrifices for the temple. All right, and I believe even before that,
Even Alexander the Great, he visited the elders.
Yep. But before that, if I'm not mistaken, Antiochus III was he allowed us to freely practice our religion too. All right. So like you said, it says, and he shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey. Right. You see, Hellenizing us. All right. But you can continue.
So I feel tired from the top.
Right, and like I said, yep.
Daniel 11:24 at the top, he shall enter peaceably even upon the fattest places of the province.
Right, so all the lands, etc., that were under the Seleucid dynasty, he entered in peaceably, without hesitation, with no, backlash, so to speak. All right, and one of the fattest places was Jerusalem, all right, where the temple was at. Like we just got a glimpse of how much money was in the temple, the temple had a lot of riches. But you got it.
It says, and he shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey and spoil and riches. Yeah, he shall forecast his devices against the strongholds, even for a time.
Read the middle part one more time.
And he shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey and spoil and riches. Yeah, he shall forecast his devices against the strongholds, even for a time.
Right, so ultimately, I believe, I gotta find this piece in his Wikipedia about how he spread his riches, pretty fairly amongst his troops. I forget what they called it, but pretty much, he was known for spreading, the spoils of war, the spoils of, his subjects, to his troops. Okay? I think that's in, it's in Maccabees. I think First Maccabees 3, I think is a good account. Jacob, First Maccabees 3 and 28. Well, whole First Maccabees 3 and 28, and then if a brother could get First Maccabees 1 and 41, because I just want to touch on, pretty much how ultimately Antiochus pushed Hellenization on the nation of Israel. First Maccabees 1:41.
First Maccabees 1, verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and every one should leave his laws, so all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yeah, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath. For the king has sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts. That they should also leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation. To the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said, should die.
Remember, it was that Alexander the Great's father, was that Philip of Macedon? One of his main goals was to push the Hellenized world, to all the nations, to make the whole world, after the fashion of the Greeks. See? So this ultimately is the spirit that's tied to Esau, Edom, that one world government. Everyone bowed down to my will, my way, and my laws, And like you said, all these things were pertaining to being unclean, being abominable, and being profane. Which we know profane is to be outside of the temple. You see? So this is that mindset of this Edomite, and this is that mindset that we coming in today. This is why it all connects to modern time, because it's that same spirit, that Esau, Edom has always came in, man. But you got it, bro.
It says, I'm reading back 50. First Maccabees 1 verse 50, and whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit every one that forsook the law, so they committed evils in the land, and drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for succor.
Alright, that's the point. Alright, so just tapping into some of that history concerning, how, Antiochus, the fourth Epiphanes, he didn't do after the manner of his fathers. Alright, by, acknowledging and pretty much allowing, the Israelites, free practice, their heritage, customs, and laws. But again, dealing with, the latter portion of that verse concerning Antiochus, dividing the spoils, etc. I believe a decent account. First Maccabees 3. Let's start at 27 real quick.
You said First Maccabees 3,
Yeah,
and what you said verse
27.
First Maccabees 3, verse 27. Now when King Antiochus heard these things, he was full of indignation. Wherefore he sent and gathered together all the forces of his realm, even a very strong army. He opened also his treasure and gave his soldiers pay for a year, commanding them to be ready whensoever he should need them.
Right, so that's how loose he was with his money. You know what I'm saying? You got it.
Nevertheless, when he saw that the money of his treasures failed, and that the tributes in the country were small, because of the dissension and plague which he had brought upon the land in taking away the laws which had been of old time, he feared that he should not be able to bear the charges any longer, nor to have such gifts to give so liberally as he did before.
See, he gave away liberally. Alright, again it says, he shall scatter among them the prey, and spoil, and riches. Yeah, and he shall forecast his devices against strongholds even for a time. Right, so dealing with that. Alright, you can finish that out.
For he had abounded above the kings that were before him.
That's pretty much the point on that. But one more point on the last portion that says, yeah, and he shall forecast his devices against the strongholds, even for a time, right? Going into, pretty much how he conspired against Egypt, which ultimately that's going to result in the 6th Syrian war. So, where we at on time?
Probably be at an hour.
55.
Alright, come on. Well, let's just get First Maccabees 1:16. Just to go into, how ultimately, he set his eyes on Egypt as well. And then, Lord willing, we just close out there and pick it up on the 6th Syrian war on the next one, verse 25. You got it.
First Maccabees 1, verse 16. Now, when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have the dominion of 2 realms. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots and elephants and horsemen, and a great navy, and made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death. Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoils thereof. And after that, Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again.
Hold that, and let's just read 25 real quick, because that's pretty much, read 25, Daniel 11:25 real quick.
Daniel 11, verse 25, and he shall stir up his power and his courage against the king of the south with a great army.
Right, and the king of the south at this time is pertaining to Ptolemy the 6th Philometer, alright, or Philometer, okay? And like I said, this is pretty much the beginning of the 6th Syrian war, but ultimately at this point in the Ptolemaic dynasty, you had a lot of, inner turmoil going on, concerning, the true leader, because at this time we believe Ptolemy the 6th was real young, alright? And his father had passed and his mother had passed as well. So pretty much he had like 2 co-regents that were over him, okay? And they were conspiring over, parts of Syria that they had lost to the Seleucid dynasty, etc. And like I said, that pretty much stirred up, the beginning of the 6th Syrian war, which ultimately Antiochus the first won. But like I said, this verse is a lot of history, so we just stopped there, Lord willing.
Just right at 5 or 2.
We just stop there. Those who this is edifying to whoever may receive it. And give all glory and praises to it.
Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Kakudash.
Shalom to our beloved elders and apostles of great millstone. Shalom to those who elect. And shalom to all the Akim pushing this truth and sincerity. Don't say shalom. Kwame Yashara.
Kwame Yisrael and Baba Ball, those where we endure. Shalom.